And there's so many business owners nowadays, they're like, I don't do the camera. I don't feel comfortable being on camera. Guess what? There's people in your area and your expertise and your service that if you don't get on camera, eventually you're gonna be put out of business. There's somebody out there, younger, faster, they have a lot more energy than you have, and they're going to follow a plan that is the next era of digital marketing. If you're too scared to get in front of a camera because you just don't feel comfortable, you think we feel comfortable being in front of a camera every day? Well, absolutely not. I'm like you, but I also know I have something else that I want to go get. I have a bigger plan that if I have to sacrifice how I feel on camera, and that's the one thing that business owners refuse to do, and it's literally one of the easiest things to do. But the largest growth leaps of an entire year could be from you just taking it aside and saying, hey, this year we're gonna do TikTok. We're actually gonna be intentional with our social media marketing, and it doesn't happen overnight. You think that we worked month over month, year over year, and we said, we just blew up? No, we put video after video after video after video out before we had 137 million views. And you think it was cheap? Absolutely not. Hey guys, welcome back to the Young CEO Podcast. Colton, welcome to the podcast. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about 5 things that are going to help you advance in your personal life. It might be in your faith. It might be in your business, your family life, relationships. These are things that has helped us scale businesses, that has helped scale things at home, that has helped scale with relationships, and helped us make money along the way. So Colton, I'll let you take it on, and then we're going to get right into the podcast because it's going to be a teaching moment for the people that are watching this. I want to be able to give them things that can help them advance in life. That's what I want out of this podcast today. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I just want to say thank you to our audience. And whether you're an entrepreneur, a owner, business owner, investor, real estate investor, if you're a leader in a company that, you might be the main manager, supervisor, you might be in a C-level position, these podcasts are for you. And you keep asking me is like, Colton, like, what if I'm working for a company? What's this podcast going to help me with? Well, number one, let's say you up-level that company and all of a sudden your bonus gets bigger because you're doing your job better, because it's something that you're learning based off of other people's real world success. And so it doesn't just talk to a business owner, entrepreneur, real estate investor. It's for everybody that's in business, whether you work for an employer, whether you're a main manager. All of the things that we teach is not just about owning the business. It's about how can you apply it throughout any business, and also elevate your business level of mindset and growth that, now you can come to your boss, your employer, your partner and say, hey, what if we did this? And all of a sudden, you can put a growth pattern or plan in place for that company. And now all of a sudden you elevate your wages as well. Absolutely. So it's for everybody out there that's, like I said, a manager, executive, C-level, owner, investor, anybody out there. This podcast does apply to you. So absolutely. And this podcast, it was created to help you and to teach you all the things we're learning. I love that. Let's go to the first question. And this is about mindset. How did you shift from just making money to actually managing it? I think a lot of people get down when it comes to making money. It's like people have all of these bright ideas. They have all the, there's so many great ideas in the world, but the ones that matter are the ones that people have taken action on. And, it's a lot of people have the best ideas ever, but then they have no execution plan of how to get it. I can have a terrible idea, but a great execution plan. Guess what? I'm probably going to get further and make more money because I have a better plan of execution than you ever did because of just your core belief on the idea that you had. So it starts with an idea, yes, but it also has to execute into an execution plan of, okay, how do I take that plan and then take real world data and apply it and actually get reality. You know, I think people have an idealist mindset, which is great. They, all of these mind coaches, they're like, you have to tell yourself you're $100 million or you're a millionaire, or whatever you want to tell yourself. That's great. But reality is still reality.
Yeah.
Reality is you have $0 in your bank account and, your wife is hungry, your kids are hungry, or you're trying to get out of your parents' basement or bedroom and you're trying to, where do I go from here?
Right.
Number one is you have to have an execution plan. Number two is you always have to stick through it. I've seen so many people, especially our generation. I'm 24 years old. I've been in this business 6 years. I've done nothing else but this. How many people do you know in your life that stuck to anything over 12 months?
Right.
Because our generation wants it now, but they don't want to take the time. And I'm not going to say in line, say, hey, it takes 12 months and you're going to be rich.
Yeah.
It takes years. Set aside the next 10 years and do something. And in 10 years, it doesn't work out, then change it. Don't go do something for 6 months and you're like, Colton, it didn't work. Well, no kidding, it didn't work.
You were not in the business long enough.
Right. People they have the greatest, best idea of, Amazon idea or a Google idea or whatever. They might have had the best idea, but they didn't have the execution plan in place. And so they just took off. Well, it didn't succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Reality hit. They had a reality check. Oh, it's not working.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go do something else. How many people do you know that started a lawn mowing business, a window washing business, a pressure washing business, anything, landscaping, anything and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 months later, they're doing something else. Which you call them back in another 6 months, they're doing something else.
Yeah. I believe it all comes down to the mindset, but the people that people hang around, because they'll go to somebody. Let's say I have this idea, because there's a quote that me and you live by, is saying, a dream without a goal and a plan of action is just wishful thinking. And so if you don't have a goal, hey, a number and a date when this is going to be done and how I'm going to take an execution plan, you're never going to have it done. There's different books out there that you can read that the reason people stay in this rat race is because they're telling someone else your dream to someone else, but God didn't give them that dream. And you don't keep on doing it because your first plan didn't work out. Like when the light bulb was created, it took 100 tries or 1,000 tries before it even worked out. You have to continue trying, but you have to have a strong mindset that no matter what, I'm going to stay strong and I'm going to keep pushing through, because the greatest people that continue to stick it through are the ones that actually are going to become successful. Let's go to the second one. And I think mindset it all comes down to having a strong mindset, but having a plan of action, execution plan, execute with those things, execution on those dreams, on that idea, because you're going to be a 1%er. What's the first financial habit that made the biggest difference for you? And we're talking about discipline. This is number 2, discipline. What's the number 2? What's the second thing that really helped you?
Well, as a business owner or just a human being in nature, the first thing that happens is if you make a little bit of money, guess what? Your lifestyle elevates with it. So there's no extra money.
Right.
You can start making $1,000 a week and then go to $2,000 a week. 99% of people will still live paycheck to paycheck. So their thinking is not elevating with their income. So they think just because I make more, I can now spend more. So the spending habits just increase. The very first thing I had to learn is still, how can I live below my means for the next 10 years? Right. I don't have to drive the nicest trucks, or I don't have to have the largest house on the block, even though I could afford it. How do you take that? It's all of your will and mind, and say, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice for the first 10 years, first 15 years.
Absolutely.
And then my last 35 years on this earth will be extraordinary like nothing else. But the first thing people do is they always elevate their spending. And then guess what? The second their income drops, they start going under. They start getting in credit card debt, 25% interest. They start having all these high interest loans. What happened 2 or 3 years ago when people started buying all of these high dollar, $100,000 trucks, and then the truck market collapsed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they owed 70 or 80,000, but their truck's worth 40. Mm-hmm. Then what happens? They're upside down. motor gives out, anything gives out. Now you're putting your entire family at risk because you elevated before you actually had the means to do it. Everybody, and I mean, I did it myself. Everybody starts elevating their lifestyle before they actually should, even though they can and could. You know, how can you live below your means, stay on the same budget that you did, and start, you know, number one, how do you make your money make money while you sleep? That's, you know, people say, you know, all the rich have money and they make money while they sleep. What's that term mean? Well, that means is they took their money, their cash, and they started being the investor. They started getting returns and not actually trading their time for money. And when you can learn how not to trade your time for money and trade actually money for time, all of a sudden everything shifts around you. Now you're not working a 40-hour work week and getting a paycheck. You could work a 20-hour work week and get a bigger paycheck than a guy that's working an 80-hour work week gets a 80-hour per hour check. That's the first thing when it comes to discipline is don't always elevate your lifestyle just because your income went up. And that's the biggest thing is people have to learn. You know, they see a large dollar amount in their account. They're like, oh, I can go buy that now. And then, you know, they get upside down and then they're really in trouble because now the higher interest credit card loans, you know, and they want to stay with that lifestyle. And 9 times out of 10, it's harder to go down below your means than above your means.
And that's what we had to learn. I was looking for a quote on my phone that I posted the other day of why most people, and I'm talking about if you're living paycheck to paycheck, why you can't get out of living from paycheck to paycheck. It all comes down to discipline, which is exactly what we're talking about, living below your means. And I remember the first year we made our first $1 million, we wanted to go buy everything. We wanted to go buy the nice trucks. I mean, that year, like we wanted to go buy everything, but we went to an event that completely shifted our whole mindset. Was at first, this is what most people do. Most people, they get let's say you're making $1,000 a week, they get bumped to $2,000 a week. Now their life is elevated. Now I'm driving a nicer car. I'm going to fancy restaurants. I'm doing more things. I'm spending it as fast as I can get it. Most people spend it and then with the rest of their money, they try to invest it. But what the rich are doing is they're making money. They're living below their means on 10, 20% of their income. They first go invest the money. They have discipline. They go invest the money in assets that continue making more money. Because if you make $1,000, how much of that can you go and put it into a stock market or into real estate? And it can bring you in $100 a week. How about that? Now the money you just traded your time for is now actually bringing you money. You got to learn discipline, exactly what he's talking about. You got to be disciplined when you're making $1,000. Because when you make $2,000, you're going to have the habit of spending. You've got to get out of the habit of spending and having some discipline in your life so you can start saving and investing, which is why mindset's number 1, discipline's number 2. And what I'm about to get into, number 3, is growth. What would you say for me and you was the smartest investment that we've made so far that's made us a lot of money, but here's another thing that has given us peace, that no matter what, we can go home and it continues to make us money, because we've got stuff that makes us quite a bit. I mean, interest money coming in. Because I told a guy this morning, I'm like, dude, if you had $100,000 and we're not financial advisors, well, you could have made 16% on an investment this month or today. Actually, if you had $100,000, I could have made you 16 grand. So when you can build up a portfolio of making money, you can invest and you can play a little bit bigger. But what would you say is the smartest investment me and you have made, from businesses to real estate to we had to buy equipment for our companies. We built a big 50 or 60,000 square foot facility. What do you think? What would you say the best investment that we've made?
You know, the best investment anyone can make is people. It will always be the best investment is how can you hire smarter people than who you are. Best investment you ever make is your greatest ROI in business is going to be your people. And you're going to get a greater ROI the more you invest in those people. There's a lot of companies that, we fall short every single day here. It's not that we're perfect by any means, but the more that you invest in your people, the more greater your ROI is going to be. Now, I could go into details of, what to do with your personal money. There's a book out there that I don't remember what it was called. It was, you create all of these different accounts. It's Profit First. If there's one book I would recommend, as a starting entrepreneur, as a starting business owner, or one that's been in business 5-10 years, is read Profit First. That's helped us actually save a lot of profit and not just blow it, not just spend it. Long time ago, I had a great mentor of mine always say, all right, there's single digit ROIs, there's double digit ROIs, there's triple digit ROIs, and there's what's called an infinite ROI. Your single digit ROIs are going to be anything from the stock market, your S&P 500, your IRAs, your 401ks, any whole life policies, variable life policies, anything and everything that you want to do, right? That's your single digit ROIs that, once a month I send money into that single digit ROI account, and it's making me anything from 4 to 8% depending on the year. And it just sits there and it grows, it multiplies year over year. Do I touch it right now? No, absolutely not. Right. That's a retirement account at 65, whenever I want to use it, right? But then your double digit ROIs is stuff that you invest back into the company. Can I buy a piece of machinery? Can I buy anything that's going to give me a double digit ROI? Anything from, like I said, 10% to 99% ROI on my money. If I buy a piece of equipment and then I don't have to go rent a piece of equipment, right? Mm-hmm. And, minus your payment, minus the interest, minus the insurance, minus the maintenance, is it more feasible for me to go buy that piece of equipment? Can I make a better return on my investment than going and renting it from someone? And then I can also account for the depreciation and still have an asset at the end of the day, right? Then your triple digit ROIs is your once in a lifetime hits. You bring out a new product, your marketing plan worked. You have a big investor come through and, a large sum of money came in and you made a whole lot of money. Your infinite ROI is always people. That's the greatest return
and investing in yourself.
Business ever will have, is investing in you and investing in people around you. I had a great coach once tell me, because I had this big argument with him of saying, listen, I cannot afford that person in particular. And he's like, Colton, you cannot not afford to not have him. Mm-hmm. What we don't understand as business owners is we look at the bottom line and we're like, okay, I don't have it in my budget to hire that person. What we don't get is every single employee in a C-level executive seat is a minimum of a 4X return. If you hire someone for $100,000, minimum that they have to bring to the company is $400,000. So if they're elevating your company by 4X minimum,
right,
and you bring on an extra $400,000 a year, can you or can you not afford that employee? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer is yes. You never go and look beyond of what the income is coming in now. You think you're going to hire an employee and you think you're going to stay at the same level. Well, if you stay at the same level, absolutely no, you cannot afford him or her. But if that person comes into business, elevates it, and now your company is off to the moon. What if you have a double digit growth leap because you had that person that, got you over that one big hump that in your mind, you couldn't attack on your own. Mm-hmm. That's the best investment I ever did, is invest in people. And I'll never, till the day I die, and stop investing in great people that have a great attitude, that have a heart to learn. They never have a ceiling. They're always learning with me. We always want the staff here. We want the employees here. We want the C-level executives here to always be learning.
Yeah.
How do we elevate not only the people below us, but us? Us as leaders are the law of the lid. If we can't manage something more than us, our employees will only be 80% of what we can do. And so you always have to have smarter people around you. Right. I didn't go to school for accounting. Well, guess what?
Got the best accountant.
I hired people that did go to school, that do know accounting. Right. I can't do everything. I can't do accounting. I can't do sales. I can't do marketing. I can't do all of it if I have a huge growth plan for the company.
And I think, in that growth period, investing in yourself, investing in people, I believe that's a whole podcast for another day. But it's about buying back your time. Because like I said, me and him are 8th grade dropouts. He dropped out of the 6th. I dropped out of the 8th grade. We don't know everything, but we've hired the experts. We've set ourselves around with the A players that are really good at marketing. They're good at production. They're good at growing businesses, we know that we need good people, great people around us, and we're willing to spend the money because we know that's going to elevate our company, and we're growing with everybody. That's the smartest move and the best investment we've ever did. Was first, we invested in ourselves because to get the belief that, hey, we can surround ourselves with good people. We're investing in us. And that what that did was it attracted good people to us because we were building a great company. Movement was going great. And I think,
I think the biggest thing, this is one of the biggest things that I learned this year. And it was our biggest growth leap that we did year over year is marketing, is social media. A lot of people, I get a lot of people that come up to me and they're like, I see you on the video every day. I like your stuff. Great. Last year, the entire company hit over 36 million views in 2024.
how much?
36 million.
Okay.
This year, we invested in cameras, we invested in people, we invested in a greater marketing strategy. We have quite a few people on our marketing team. Year to date, just company views, it's over 137 million views. The biggest thing that people don't realize is this market is calling for digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you put a sign on a banner in, in your local city, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a qualified lead that, hires you.
Right.
We invest in marketing, which
digital banners,
which goes into sales. And there's so many business owners nowadays. They're like, I don't do the camera. I can't, I don't feel comfortable being on camera. Guess what? There's people in your area and your expertise and your service that if you don't get on camera, eventually you're going to be put out of business. And I'm telling you, even if you have the best word of mouth business, your new business will not grow because there's somebody out there younger, faster. They have a lot more energy than you have right now because they're only getting started. And they're going to follow a plan that is the next era of digital marketing. You can hire anyone to come do it. You can do anything. But if you're too scared to get in front of a camera because you just don't feel comfortable, you think we feel comfortable being in front of a camera every day? Absolutely not. I'm like you, but I also know I have something else that I want to go get.
Yeah.
I have a bigger plan that if I have to sacrifice how I feel on camera, you think, everybody says, well, I don't like how I sound on camera, or I don't like how I look on a TV screen. Well, great. You think anyone else does?
Right.
And that's the one thing that business owners refuse to do. And it's literally one of the easiest things to do. Easiest.
Camera.
But the largest growth leaps of an entire year could be from you just taking it aside and saying, hey, this year we're going to do TikTok. This year we're going to do Facebook. This year we're going to have Reels. This year we're actually going to be intentional with our social media marketing and actually, and it doesn't happen overnight. You think that we worked month over month, year over year, and we said, we just blew up? No. We put video after video after video after video out
of getting 5 views, 7 views.
before we had 137 million views. And you think it was cheap? Absolutely not. But if you think putting an ad in a newspaper, putting an ad on a TV screen, putting an ad on a billboard is going to work nowadays, there's no tracking, there's no anything when it comes to that. And just because when we're talking about growth here, if you want to grow your business, number one is invest in you. Second thing is invest in your marketing team. Invest in,
which is your brand.
If you don't want to invest in a $2,000 camera, get you an iPhone 17 or a 15 or whatever. Start turning the camera around and start recording.
Yeah. I love that. That's another podcast. We're going to have to come out. I'll actually bring one of our marketing experts on. We built a whole marketing team in the Philippines. We've got people that are on site. We invested in cameras long before we invested in the behind the scenes of getting on camera. We were not always great at communicating. I'm always every day we're working on getting better with communicating, getting better with talking in front of a camera. It's about you getting better every day. And the people that are stepping out and doing business better, faster, and have more energy, and they're more innovative, are the people that are stepping out and not worried about what they're going to look like, what it's going to sound like, and dang sure not going to be worried about being comfortable, because your comfort will cost you your business, will cost you everything you worked up to this point. I believe digital marketing is taking over. If I can get 137 million And I believe with all the employees, we had like over 200 million views on a digital platform with knowing nothing about marketing. So can you. It's about you educating yourself. Everything is out there. Invest a little bit in cameras. I don't even know what cameras we have, but we have the best people and we invest in the best people because we know that the future in marketing is right in front of a camera. And if your business is not doing it, you're going to be pushed out of the market, period.
It always goes back to brand trust. If people 200, 300, 400 miles away can look at your brand over a cycle of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years.
As dirty trust, like boom, just like that.
On the brand trust. If you think of Walmart, how long has the Walmart brand been around? It's brand trust, right?
Right.
You go to Walgreens, brand trust, brand trust. They're always branding. Why do the largest companies in the world still brand to this day? You would think Walmart doesn't need to market anymore. They're the biggest, they're the best. Why do they market? Because they know the future is still marketing. If they thought that they had conquered the entire market, they would quit marketing.
Right. And they would stop. But they know if they quit, and then someone else gets an edge on them, they would get knocked out of the market. Some of the biggest.
So your brand trust is one of the biggest things as in a growth leap that if you're looking at your last quarter, okay, you got a little bit of time left. If you're looking at now 2026, I would highly suggest you would put that on your radar of, hey, we need to start a marketing team. We need to get a growth plan together for the marketing team. What are we going to talk about? What is our customers? How do I create the brand trust that I need? A customer comes in here. Let's take a plumbing company for example. If I hire a plumbing company and I see zero, I have no Google reviews, I have no Yelp reviews, I have nothing. I don't even know the owner's face. I don't know if they even exist. And you could have been around for 25 years, right? I'm probably going to go with a guy that I can see everything online. I know who I'm talking to. I know they have 150 Google reviews and they have an online brand trust. That's what customers go off of these days. Mm-hmm. You think customers just blindly don't research? How many times do you get on your phone and look at the best deals, the best reviews, because you do it yourself? It's a force of nature and habit that us as human beings, we go back to. Yeah. We're doing it because it's a buying pattern. Mm-hmm. We always have a buying pattern, and that's how Americans work. So if you're not, as a company, into that buying pattern, recognizing what your customers' buying patterns are, all of a sudden, they're not going to trust you. They're going to go with your neighbor down the street, or they're going to go with your competition down the street because they actually have a brand trust. Mm-hmm. And they have online people saying, hey, I trust this person. I've done business with this person. They're great people. And all of a sudden, now you look at them and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so busy and I have literally no work for my guys next week.
Yeah. We see it all over the market. That's the reason we started this podcast, to educate you guys, business owners. And if you're working for a company, you can, inside of your organization, you can make your company even better by sending them this podcast, teaching, educating. But all these, I gave you 3 things. We're going to have to do another podcast about the other 2 that I was going to give you guys. But the 3 that I gave you was one of the most important, which the last one was growth, and you getting into marketing and all these things was something that every business needs. And if you don't, there's someone else that's going to have an edge on you. And again, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. You guys are on the same mission, to share it with your friends, share it with your co-owners, your owners, share it with your boss, and say, hey, how can we level up our marketing? How can we level up our mindsets? How can we have a growth mindset? Write a couple of those things down of what's your your execution plan. Maybe you have an idea, but how do I have an execution plan? Tons of good things that we went over in this podcast of how we built a multi-million-dollar business by doing everything that we still do, not being the smartest people, but by hiring the right people. Again, thank you guys for listening to the Young CEO podcast. See you on the next.
Thank you guys.